Hi guys, how you doing? It's Orlando City UK here, and I'm delighted to say we're joined by a very special guest today. You'll know him as Orlando City's all-time record appearance maker, 132 appearances in USL and MLS. It's our pleasure to welcome Luke Boden. Welcome to the show.
How we doing?
Very good, mate. Very good. Nice to have you on. How you been bearing up in lockdown? Bored as hell, I bet, right?
Yeah, well, bored would be a fine thing. Obviously, we're doing classes and stuff at Rollins. I've been trying to cram as many in as possible, especially being in a time like this where there's a strong chance of being bored. I've probably bitten off more than I can chew, but I'm slowly but surely tackling each class at a time. So it's definitely not been boring. It's been pretty busy, and I've seen a lot of 1 a.m.s and 2 a.m.s. But I'm plugging along. So
Good to
how about
hear.
you?
Good to hear. I'm not too bad. I'm actually based up in Toronto, so I'm on your time zone as well. So obviously we represent the UK, but been a bit closer to you guys, over in North America for the last year and a bit. So enjoying it, but like you, just can't wait to get back to some semblance of normal.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
the new norm.
Exactly, the new normal, right? So we're going to take Luke through a quick question answer session today. So we'll dive straight into it. I mean, you, Luke, you were there at Orlando City in the very beginning. The 2011. Take us through the process. How's us as a Yorkshireman like you, end up in North America? How did it come about?
Um, I think so. Obviously, back home, I was at Sheffield Wednesday, and obviously the manager that I came in under at the time at Sheffield Wednesday was Paul Sturrock.
Mm,
And Paul Sturrock first gave him my chance when I was 17, and it was Plymouth away. I'll never forget it. It was
mm,
nerve-wracking to say the least, but it was amazing. And I thought from then on, my career would kind of kick on. I got my chance. I thought I'd done all right. I
mm,
continued to get chances under Paul Sturrock in cup games and in league games. And then he left, and then Brian Laws came in, and I played under Brian Laws a little bit as well because I knew him from Scunthorpe. I did a season at Scunthorpe when I was a YTS. So I knew Brian Laws, so then I played under him, and then Alan Irvine came in, and my career kind of came to a halt. Um, Football's made up of opinions, like everybody knows, and
mm,
and certain managers like the certain players, and I wasn't a fit for Alan Irvine. And then I had the opportunity, actually through James O'Connor at Sheffield Wednesday, who came up to me and said, "Hey, the guy that looks after me has good connections in America," and he said that's something that I want to do. And I just thought, I'd put it to you and see what you think. And James is probably the main reason why I'm sitting here today.
yeah.
He put me in touch with Clive Clark and Gary Mellor, and they figured out a way how to get me to America under Adrian Heath, and that's kind of how it came. They said, "Do you want to play soccer in Orlando, Florida?" And I mean, it's
No
a
brainer,
no-brainer.
right?
No? I was frustrated. I wasn't playing, and I just wanted to play football. I didn't work as hard as I did as a kid to just sit around and kind of be a number. And I really just wanted to play. That's all I wanted to do.
For sure.
So perfect opportunity for me to come over and play.
Was the transition difficult at the start? Obviously, it's a long way from home.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks just because in America they speak English that everything's pretty much the same, but the culture's so different.
Yeah.
It's such a different culture to England.
Hmm.
Uh, and I was very naive, and I thought it would just be a simple transition. But I think the first 6 months. If you ever get a chance to ask Adrian about my first 6 months at the club, it was like I'd never kicked a ball before.
Mm,
It was really difficult for me, and I missed home, and I missed friends, and even though I was making friends and had friends on the team, obviously I roomed with Lewis Neal,
mm,
who's a close friend of mine, and it was just really difficult. It was a really difficult transition, and after them 6 months, I kind of found my feet again, and I started to enjoy my football again, and
yeah.
um, I think, but them first 6 months were really difficult. It was a very difficult transition.
I mean, obviously, you live over there in Florida now. Do you get back to the UK often? Do you get back to Hillsbury? You know, are you a Sheffield Wednesday fan? I've never quite known that.
Yeah, so my family's kind of split. And my dad's actually a Manchester United fan,
Right.
and my brother and the rest of my family, bar a few, are all Sheffield Wednesday fans.
Hmm.
So playing for Sheffield Wednesday was obviously amazing. My brother, I used to go to all the Sheffield Wednesday games with my brother,
Yeah.
and then to play for them was amazing. And then obviously my dad used to take me to the Manchester United games. So I was kind of set in both worlds, and I would probably say I follow them both, which is really unusual for
Yeah.
an English person to say. To
Yeah,
follow
for sure.
Manchester United and Sheffield Wednesday is a very bizarre thing.
Mm.
It's very common over here, which is weird. People
Yes,
have their favorite Premier League teams and their favorite Italian teams and their favorite Spanish teams. It's not like back home where it's like I'm a Sheffield Wednesday fan or I'm a Sheffield United fan. So it's a bit bizarre in that sense, I guess. But I think that's just how I was brought up.
I mean, it must pain you seeing Sheffield United do so well, right, this year.
Yeah. So although I'm split between Sheffield United and between Sheffield Wednesday and Manchester United, the Sheffield United thing is it's embedded in me. I'm not a fan of the old red and white. I've got friends. I mean, some of my close friends are Sheffield United fans, and I went to school, in Sheffield, and as you can imagine, it's pretty split down the middle between blue and red.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'm sure. So take us up to present day, Luke. I mean, you're an assistant coach at Rollins College, the men's soccer program up there. Tell us, obviously, it's been locked down for the last few months, but before lockdown, tell us kind of what you were doing in that role as an assistant coach.
Yeah, so the college game is very well. It's similar in a way to the professional game, and then it has obviously its differences with the educational side, and I think that's why I really enjoyed it. And I never knew that. I knew I always wanted to get into coaching. I never knew that it would be college coaching. And then I've known Keith Buckley, the head coach at Rollins, for a long time because obviously we used to play Rollins in pre-season. And he called me one day, and his current assistant coach at the time had to leave due to personal reasons, and he asked me if I wanted to fill that spot. And I just left Tampa, and it was perfect. So I went there, and one of our first conversations, which is quite funny, was what do you want to do with this? And I said, well, I really want to be a head coach. And he said, okay, that's great. He said, you need to get your degree. And I said, excuse me? So, obviously I left school at 16 back in England. I left school at 16. I went straight into being a scholar, YTS, or whatever you want to call it, at 16 years old. So I never got the chance to get my education or anything like that. So now, I'm obviously going through this because I want to eventually be a head coach in college. And I think the thing that I love about it is you give the players more than just football, more than just soccer. I mean, you're setting these kids up for the rest of their lives by getting their degrees from Rollins. So I do love that part, and we've got great players, we've got great people, and I really love working with them.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I think, yeah, like you say, it's important, isn't it, that not everyone's going to go on to have a soccer career, but at least they've got a plan B as well. I think that's really important.
Yeah, especially, and I mean, like I said, I never had an education, and I never had anything to fall back on, and I always got told it through school. What are you going to, you want to be I want to be a professional player, and they say that's fine, but what are you going to do afterwards? And I was like, afterwards? What are you talking about? So it's really important. We have players who have aspirations to go and play professionally, and I want to try and help them in doing that because it is the best job in the world. It's amazing. Yeah. But also, it's really important that they set themselves up for after.
Absolutely. While we're on the subject of Rollins College, tell me, you guys did play Roma there, right? Way back when, right?
Yeah, we did. We that was it was a game that came out of nowhere. The first one, which was at Rollins when it was grass at the time, and it kind of came out of nowhere. I think Roma were I think they were training down at Disney for their preseason stuff, and I think Adrian just came across the game because we had a lot of players out of town at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of the players that were in the first team were not around; they were back home. And Adrian texted everybody and said, "Hey, we're going to play Roma. If you can make it, great." So we had a kind of a depleted team a little bit. We had a lot of lads that were away, and we ended up playing a lot of guys that were either trying out for us or whatever. But I mean, it didn't take away from the moment. It was a fantastic game. We played against some great players, and obviously played at Rollins, which is funny.
Did you manage to get a tackle in on Tati? Did you get clapped?
No, but funny story, because Adamar did manage to get a tackle in on Tati and got a good old slap on the back of his neck for his troubles. It's something we joke about today. I just spoke with Miguel, Rob, and Brian Burke the other day, and we spoke about that game, and we spoke about when Tati came on, and we were all kind of like, this is Francesco Totti. This is the real deal, And Adamar's reaction was completely different, and it was just to try and tackle him.
Yeah.
And he was, it was fairly rough with him.
Yeah.
And Totti just slapped him on the back of the neck, and it was a lot. It was really loud. It kind of echoed around the Rollins Stadium, and we all looked at each other just like, "Wow, he just got slapped," And the referee did nothing. Everybody just kind of giggled it off.
Yeah.
Something that we never let him live down, that's for sure.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Well, I'm going to take it, obviously, back to 2015 now. Obviously, in the UK, a lot of people know Orlando City from 2015 onwards. There's some that obviously knew the club before that in USL, but to fill the bowl, I mean, what an amazing spectacle. What, the club managed to do for that was just impeccable. It was over 5 years ago now. Time flies. Take us back to your emotions of that day. Obviously you'd been with the club. You'd been the starting left back, hadn't you? The club had brought in Breck Shea. I think you was on the bench for that game. You must have been gutted, right, not to start?
Yeah, it's a conversation I've had a few times. Obviously it was devastating. I'd played for Orlando for the 4 years previous, and then for the biggest game in the club's history, I was on the bench. But going into this new season and this new era of MLS, I knew that there was going to be difficulties. It becomes a business, and I'd already experienced that in England. And, there was always going to be competition for places. There was always going to be new people coming in the door. There was always going to be money involved, and, things were going to change from what it was to what it is today. And that's inevitable. So I knew that them challenges were going to come along, and Fill the Ball came along, and, they spoke about selling out the Camping World Stadium, or I think it was still Citrus Bowl at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it was like 63,000 people. And then I remember the day that I found out that I wasn't playing, and it was devastating. But it was still an amazing day. It was an amazing experience to walk out and see that many people in Orlando come and cheer on their team.
Yeah.
And luckily we did fill the ball again in 2016, and I managed to start that game, and I think it was a similar crowd. I think it was like 62,000, 61,000, and it was amazing, and both of them were amazing experience.
On both of those days, I was there at the RSL one. Didn't get to the first ever game against NYCFC, but I just remember both days it being a daytime game, which we don't obviously play too many times in Orlando due to the heat. I was in the stands that day. I don't think I've ever been as hot as I was in my life. How do you guys do it? Honestly, in that heat, how do you do it?
Yeah, and it's funny because I have these conversations now with student athletes that come from abroad and stuff, and internationals, and it's the same conversation with them. I say, are you fit? make sure you're fit, because if you think you fit, you need to get better. You need to get fitter, because the heat over here is just, it's unbelievable. The heat, the humidity, and the sun is just so powerful, and the only way to combat that is to be as fit as you can possibly be.
Yeah.
And even then, it's still going to hit you like a brick wall, because it's just so intense. And I think the thing for us is we train in that every day. We train in that every day. We play in that every day. So it was just, I think the only addition was that it was, I think one of them was 2:00 in the afternoon. I think it was. It was. I remember it being early in the afternoon, and it was just sweltering. It was very hot on the turf. But as I say, it's pretty similar to what we train in every day anyway. And everybody was fit, and everybody was ready to go, and everybody was just looking forward to the game and playing in that game.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's one of the things, isn't it? Obviously, you have the heat as a factor in Central Florida. I think I call them the Euro snobs, and the people in England and Europe who are like, oh, it's only little MLS, like that just want to kind of push the league down rather than build it up. But it's true, isn't it? You can be on the Pacific Northwest, in midweek, and then have a Saturday game. You can be playing in Colorado at altitude. You can have the heat. There's so many different things at play, isn't there? Which makes it a difficult league to comprehend.
Yeah, no, it's an extremely difficult league, and I've spoke to friends back home that want to come out and play and stuff like that, and I explain to them that it's the travel. The travel is extremely difficult. I always use the example of when we went up and played in Toronto, and then straight from Toronto I think we played Toronto at the weekend, and I think we played LA Galaxy on the Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was a midweek game. There wasn't much space in between. And you're away for a week. Well, you're away for around 10 days as it is, which is already difficult.
Yeah.
And then, to fly all the way over there, and then to fly, and then you've got the time zones. So you're losing 3 hours, and it's really, it's exhausting. Just the travel alone is exhausting. And the clubs do their absolute best to try and help recover, help recovery for the players and help do that quicker. But
yeah,
it's just so difficult.
Yeah, because you guys fly commercial as well, right? Out of MCO, so it's like everybody else, then, right?
Yeah, you only get a certain amount of games that you can do charter flights. I think we. No, we didn't charter that one. So we didn't. No, they were both commercial. They were both commercial flights. But we chartered to Seattle, and that was just the one game. We chartered there and then chartered back. But there's very few games that you can do that, which is, I think to make the league better than what it is now. I think that's going to be really important.
Yeah.
Particularly when you come to attracting some of the best players around the world. You want to make sure that they're getting to games and they're feeling 100%.
Yeah.
Not feeling jet lagged, and it's it does get on top here, and it's really difficult, and it causes injuries because people aren't recovering in time for the next game. So I think to make it even better than it already is, I think that's going to be something that they need to look at.
Need like the Lear jets, like in the NBA, right?
Yeah. I always watch the what do you call it on Amazon, where they always watch the football teams through like preseason and stuff. I forgot what you call All or Nothing, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, and you see these with like 12 buses and 3 planes, and with soccer you'd need a plane. You know what I mean? You've got 20 odd players that you take, and a plane and a bus. But I think just to take away that exhaustion of travel would be really beneficial.
Absolutely. Luke, you mentioned just a minute ago about Toronto and a game you had up here. You scored an absolute beauty at Toronto, and I actually live at the moment just down the road from BMO Field. You scored a beauty back in 2015. I'm sure you remember. And Joe Bendick was in goal that day.
Yeah.
TFC. Is that the best strike you've had? Because I think Adrian was playing you further forward, wasn't he, at left mid?
Yeah, I played left mid that game. I think the game before that, I played left mid at home against Columbus, and I did all right. And my whole career as a kid, I played as a striker, and then Paul Sturrock, when I got into the first team, wanted me to play centre midfield, and I ended up playing centre midfield, and then I played left midfield for Brian Laws. So I kind of played forward anyway, further forward, should I say?
Yeah.
So when I went to left back, in all honesty, defending definitely wasn't my strong point. It was going forward, but the way the game is nowadays, athleticism is such a massive part of the game.
Yeah.
And that's just not something that I had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think to play in them forward positions, the modern day player is rapid.
Yeah.
And it definitely wasn't rapid.
What was your best strike then? Do you think the one at TFC? For many, to be fair, obviously he is a defender, but
yeah. No, I enjoyed that one, and I definitely let Joe know about that one as well when he came back, when he came to Orlando, and he wasn't best pleased about it, as you can imagine. But yeah, it was. I enjoyed that one. That's to say the least.
Yeah. Now I'm going to put you. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Obviously, you more than most players, to be honest with you. You've shared a locker room with Inchi, with Adrian. Way more than a lot of players. Who've played for Orlando. Tell us something about him. Obviously, he's this larger-than-life character that we wouldn't know, off the record.
Yeah, he larger than life, to say the least. Adrian was really good at allowing players to be human beings, and to go and enjoy yourself, and but he also made it very clear that when it was time to train, you had to be at 100%, and if you couldn't go out and enjoy yourself and then bring 100% to training, then don't go out. And that was a strong message that we had, particularly when we were in USL, was that go out, enjoy yourselves, and be young guys, be young kids, which we were. And we all got along, and I think that created a unity in USL. We all ate together, we were all having barbecues together, we would go out and have a few drinks together, but we all knew that when it came to going on the field, it was time to train and it was time to play.
Yeah.
And that was something that everybody knew in the dressing room. But I think he created a great unity with that. I think when he transitioned to MLS, that becomes more difficult because you're under more scrutiny. I think you're under a magnifying glass, and if we lost the game and so and so was out having a drink and a meal with friends, it's he was out on Wednesday having a drink and a meal on Winter Park. This is ridiculous. I think that's why that became really difficult, because now the attention changes a little bit more.
Absolutely. I mean, we've touched on it in this interview so far, but again, I'm going to put you on the spot. There's so many memories, so maybe this is an unfair question, but if you could pick one, what is your favourite memory? It could be in MLS, when we made the transition, but what is your favourite memory, probably from the USL days, right? If you had to pick one.
Yeah, it's probably we played Charlotte in the championship. We won 5-2. I think it was 5-2, 5-3. I think it was 5-2. And it wasn't the best defensive display by anybody. So Adrian wasn't best pleased about that. But
yeah,
I just think that was the first time I think we had like 28,000 to that game, or 26,000 to that game, and it was just like, okay, people are really buying into what we're trying to do as a club, and and we worked really hard as players to produce what they saw on the field, and Adrian had this way of playing, and we all loved and all bought into it, and I think you could see that, and it expressed it on the field. We played against Newcastle's and Boltons and Fluminense, and I think these teams weren't expecting us to be as structured as we were, and as good as we were.
Yeah.
but I think that game, that Charlotte game, was definitely it was a great game, and I think seeing 29,000 come out to the game was just like, wow,
Yeah.
this is going places. I think that's when everybody realized, like, and we'd had support throughout the year, but I think that game was just like, okay, here we go.
On the map, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from my trips, Luke, I remember been lucky enough to go over about 6 or 7 times the last 5 or so years. I always remember them early years in MLS, seeing loads of fans, little girls, lads, of your name on the back of their shirt. I mean, how did that make you feel? Like, you certainly gonna make you blush now, but you certainly a fan favourite, at Orlando, simply, due to the longevity of time you was there. But how did it make you feel seeing, guys in your shirt, when Kaka was there and all these players as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing feeling. It really is, and the support that I got in Orlando was amazing. I was at the club a long time. I'd like to think that everyone appreciated that I left everything on the field. Every game, every training session that I was in, I left everything on the field, and I took great pride in playing for Orlando City. And to see people, wearing my shirt is amazing. And I think that was a big thing for Orlando being as successful as it is today, was the connection that every player had with the club. After every game, fans would come on the field, and we'd all go out, and we'd sign stuff, and and have that connection with the fans. I mean, they're coming out there every weekend and every weekday to come and see us, and I think the least we could do is go there and sign some stuff for 20, 30 minutes, and I think we did create a bond with the fans. And it was a special time. It was definitely a special time, and it's some amazing memories.
Absolutely. I mean, this one, I've got another question. This one, it took a bit of Wikipediaing, because I wondered, were you both there at the same time? But you were. But Wikipedia in old Sheffield Wednesday, you were there in the same team, wasn't you, as James O'Connor, like you mentioned? Can you remember those days? Did you ever think back then that he was going to go into management? Did you see those traits in him back then?
100%. I was with James at Sheffield Wednesday, and I remember when he came, I actually played against him when he was at Burnley, just before he came. I think it was a few months before he came. So I played against him when he was at Burnley, and obviously Brian Laws was at Burnley with James O'Connor and knew James and knew that it'd be a great addition. And I mean, when people talk about being professional, I mean, he was the ultimate professional.
Yeah.
Great person. A completely different person when he was on the field. He was all about winning.
Yeah.
And he was very aggressive, and sometimes he was a little bit too much for people. I remember when he first came over and how intense he was, and people were just like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
And I knew James, so I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But he was just such a winner.
Yeah.
He was a winner on the field, and then off the field, just a great person.
Yeah. Remind me, was he captain at Wednesday? And was he captain with the USL team?
Was he captain at Sheffield Wednesday? I think Darren Purse was captain at Sheffield Wednesday at the time. He might have been captain a few times.
Yeah.
I know he was captain at Burnley a few times as well. And then at Orlando, no, because Rob Valentino was captain.
Right.
So James wasn't captain, but just because he didn't have just because he didn't have the armband on, didn't mean that he wasn't, a leader, like he was. He was very, he was all about winning, and that's what we needed, and he was fantastic. And going into management, it was always going to happen. I remember I used to sit next to him in the dressing room at Sheffield Wednesday, and he was in the middle of doing his coaching licenses. He was doing his A license and his pro license, and cross the T's and dot the I's, and that's what James was about. So there was no doubt in my mind that he was coming over here to go into management, and it was great to see him get the opportunity. I I wish he'd have got more of an opportunity. Obviously he's a close friend of mine, and
For sure.
sad to see him leave, because I do think that he changed the culture. I just think it's difficult with James, and I said, he's so intense, and I think it's difficult for people to understand sometimes.
Yeah.
But he's a genuine guy, and he only has people's best interests at heart. And I just wish he'd have got more of an opportunity. I think he would have done really well.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, he's a close friend, and I still speak to him now. And
yeah,
a great person.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Luke, I could sit here and talk to you about Orlando City for hours, but I've got one more for you, and it's a personal one. Maybe me and you can both relate on this. Obviously, you've been in Florida now. You live over there. I live in Toronto. What British foods do you miss the most, and do you import anything over? I mean, for me, it's the bacon. Like North American bacon, it's just
no. The bacon. I mean, to be honest, I've never really been a bacon fan, but I'm certainly not a bacon fan here. I mean, it's just like it's like it's too crispy. You know what I mean? It's not. There's no meat. It's just like eating fat.
Yeah.
So it's really bizarre. Bacon, or whatever you want to call it over here. I think the biggest thing for me, and I get my dad to ship it over, but my little boy now is starting to eat my chocolate buttons. So I have to start hiding them.
Yeah.
Because he's going in the cupboard and he's pulling them out, and I'm like, I have to hide him from him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an American. He should be eating Hershey's. He shouldn't be eating my chocolate buttons, But, the basic stuff, salad cream. I know you can buy it over here, but I miss salad cream and brown sauce, and I miss the fish and chip shop.
Oh,
I miss
number one.
Yeah. I mean, every time I go home, I mean, I go to all these places instantly.
Yeah.
Fish and chip shop to get, chip butty or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What else is there?
I've got to admit, there's some Yorkshire tea in a care package from Christmas that I've still got. The good stuff.
Oh, the Yorkshire tea, the Yorkshire tea. It's just the chocolate, I think, as well. The chocolate is so much better.
Yeah, so true.
Over in England, I mean, the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Chocolate buttons disappearing every time I turn the corner. There's certain things that I do miss.
Yeah, I mean, we have a few up here in Toronto. We have a few British stores, but obviously it'll be the same down there in Orlando. The markup's just ridiculous. Can I really spend $20, on a chocolate and a bag of Monster Munch,
Yeah, I was going to say in Toronto, because I have family that lives in Winnipeg, in Canada, and they can get a decent amount of chocolate from Canada.
Yeah.
Whereas down here, and even the dairy milk down here, the dairy milk that they call it, it's not even made in England.
Yeah.
So it tastes completely different. If I got a dairy milk from England and I got a dairy milk from here, they're totally different.
Yeah.
So I do miss the chocolates, and I do miss the crisps as well, like hula hoops, skips.
I put it back, Luke, dreaming of because I've been over a year and a half and I've not been back home at all yet, and I go to some nights and I dream of where I go after I arrive at Manchester Airport, and it is straight to a fish and chip shop. I've got to admit.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. It's funny. We were supposed to go back this year as well.
Yeah.
But we, with everything that's obviously gone on, we haven't had the chance to do that. But every time I go back, it's straight to the fish and chip shop. I'm straight around to my nan's house, cup of tea and biscuits, and I do miss it, and I've got more of an appreciation for it now.
Yeah.
Than I did before. Some of the scenery and stuff. When we went back last time, we went to Matlock and York and all these things, and I was like, wow, it's beautiful. It's amazing, and it's very different, and it proved my point even more that the cultures are just so different. Going to the pub and getting a carvery and sitting outside, because we went back in June, so the weather was beautiful. We went back for 10 days, and the weather was absolutely beautiful. And we sat outside a pub and had carvery and had a beer. And and it was just, I mean, the farm was behind us and stuff, and my little boy was climbing a tree, and he's like, this is,
I think we're both daydreaming right now, but it's
you're not wrong, mate. It was amazing. It was amazing. I've got much more of appreciation for it now than certainly I did before.
I certainly understand that. All right then. Well, that's almost our time up for today. But I want to say to Luke, thanks very much for your time. Obviously, hope your family's safe and well in lockdown, and I just can't wait to get this Orlando tournament underway now. So we've got a date which should be revealed any day now, any hour now, I think. So thanks, Luke, for joining us. We wish you the best at Rollins going forward. Hope you get the marks you need from your studies. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Taylor. Thanks for having me on, mate, and take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you soon.
Awesome. All right. So if you're not following us, guys, already, we are OrlandoCityUK.com, and we're on Twitter as well at Orlando_City UK. So until next time, thanks, Luke, and Vamos Orlando.
Thanks, mate.